Anytime you treat a human as a means to an end, they become less human to you. So anytime you use purpose to get some self-serving end, it's really not purpose, it's a tactic. So what I ask companies to do is really think, is this purpose true? Is this the true impact that you or your product are making on people? Or is it purely aspirational? And then two, is it the end itself? Right? Is it the end itself? Is this impact the end itself and your profit exists to help you deliver more of it? And I think those are two good questions for a litmus test of whether you're purpose washing.
I love that. How do you distinguish between purpose as a strategy versus purpose as a tactic?
Yeah, a tactic is any time you're trying to manipulate an outcome through something versus trying to actually deliver on the thing itself. So an example is, and Andrew Carton at the Wharton School does some really great research on this. And he did a research study on NASA when they were trying to land a person on the moon by the end of the decade, which is a massive aspirational purpose. And John F. Kennedy had this big speech that says that, NASA exists to put a person on the moon by the end of the decade to advance science. Well, that's incredibly aspirational. But what was powerful is that NASA, after Carton uncovered and went through archives of what they did to get 300,000 contract workers connected with that purpose, is they made it real every day. So on every blackboard in NASA facilities, there was what's called a ladder to the moon scrawled on the blackboard. It would show people how their honest, authentic task grouping met a tangible, measurable objective that met a higher order tangible, measurable objective, which would ultimately put a person on the moon by the end of the decade. And what he says and what research shows is that when you have a bigger purpose and it's embedded and people can see it and experience it every day, and every stakeholder group can see it and experience, that's where it becomes transformational. But when you have a bigger purpose and someone on the front line never thinks about it, never talks about it, never is able to connect their task to it, it can actually be destructive. There's studies that call this, it creates existential acting and actually can result in burnout and despair and withdrawal when people see a company that has a big purpose, but they don't see it in their everyday. So I love that example from NASA, because when purpose becomes more than a tactic, it becomes embedded in the narrative of how people think, feel about, and do their everyday work. It's not just a statement on the wall. It's an everyday way of being.